welcome to my podcast. I am Jessica, and I am so happy to be here today with Mike. Mike is from Harmony Canine, a company based out of Connecticut that really focuses on building strong, harmonious relationships with dog owners and, of course, their canines. And so I know that this is a big mission for you to bridge the gap between the communication between dogs and their owners. And so I'm so happy to have this conversation because we actually met through a mutual friend that shared with me that he had something really special to share about something that he's learned through his training. And I think that will be really relevant for a lot of us that are dog owners to understand this kind of unspoken language, this communication that we all know that we feel and experience, but that he has kind of learned through his process as a dog trainer. So, Mike, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Jessica. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, and I think we want to start off actually because this podcast is also about soul purpose and like kind of doing something that the soul was calling. Would you say that being a dog trainer was for you something you've always wanted to do? Can you give us a little background on how you became a dog trainer?
Yes, actually, no, I had no clue of being a dog trainer or even that somebody could make a living being a dog trainer. I mean, I guess when I first started to pay attention was probably around 2010 when I got my first dog, just as a person getting a dog, like a lot of people do. And there was like a few dog trainers on TV, but that's a movie star, that's not something that you can just go and do and make a living until you get that far. But I got my dog and then I got another, and I was really interested in how to have a very well behaved dog. That was important to me from the beginning. So I was doing a lot of research and a lot of practice at home, but still no clue about doing what I do now. And it wasn't until I had actually met a dog trainer and started to apprentice under him that I started to see that, wow, this is something that I might be able to do. And that was a long process with a lot of learning and some sacrifice. But I got a little taste of doing something that I love, and I guess that was pretty much it. It was just about whatever I had to do to be able to make this a something that I can do all the time and help as many people as I can help.
Oh wow. Okay. So as a child, there was never like this inclination with pet with animals. Was it, did you have kind of like a resonance, like a affinity to dogs?
Yes, I had dogs growing up, and I guess looking back, there were some really cool moments that I had with them. But no, honestly, it did not cross my mind that I was going to really be able to work with animals. Not until the opportunity became a little bit more tangible did I started to really think that it's something I'd be able to do.
Wow. And so how did you make this shift or did you make the commitment? Were you working in corporate, I think you said before?
Yeah, that's right. I was climbing the corporate ladder. I had just came home from the military, and making a living and providing for a family was a big priority to me. So I just went about doing that as best I could. And again, getting a little taste of something that I really wanted to do instead of thinking it's something that I had to do, I think made all the difference in kind of my trajectory.
Absolutely. It's always that pull, like I want to do this. But I mean, did you then at that point, how long had you been kind of working with your dog before you made the transition? And what was the call that said finally, okay, I'm switching. Like I'm good at this, or was it the resonance or
It was really I had my dogs were probably young adults, maybe 2 and 3 or 2 or 4 or something like that by that time. So I'd had a lot of practice with them, but it wasn't really until I started an apprenticeship and just kind of went out and saw how it worked. I mean, I think really the first day I came home and I was like, that's it. That's what I need to do, And I knew it was going to take time uh, to get my ducks in a row, but there was at that point, I guess, kind of no stopping me. That's what I really wanted to do, and that's what I was going to find a way to do. So
wow,
that
congratulations. That's amazing, because it's not easy to make that decision and then to actually, move forward with it. So that's awesome. I mean, I think that's an inspiration that it's never too late to just kind of find the stuff that you really love and then allow the path to kind of unfold
yeah,
for you. And so now you have Harmony Canine for how many years now?
that's right. About 3.5 years. Yep, I've been running my own company and doing things my own way.
Okay, and what we're going to talk about is this amazing moment, the aha moment that you had with your dog. It's actually on his website. He has a blog post about it, which I think is really fascinating. This interaction that you had with the German Shepherd that kind of changed your perspective on really this unseen dialogue that we have with our pets and our animals. So, can you talk a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, definitely. I was it was pretty early on in doing what I do. And I was working with this German Shepherd, smart adult dog, awesome dog. And I was trying to get him to lay down just with a treat, typical thing, put it to his nose, lure him down to the ground. And the beginning stages he would do very well. But what I would call like the end stages, where I could just kind of stand upright and make a gesture down to the ground, and he would lay down so I could give him a treat. He was really reluctant to do it. And uh, I was perplexed and a little frustrated because this thing that I had done with a lot of dogs just wasn't working with him. And I couldn't figure out why. Behaviorism, classical conditioning, and operant conditioning were like two big pillars of my understanding of how we get dogs to do certain things. And this dog just wasn't responding. And I was coming to the end of the session, and I was going to be a little frustrated, I think, to go back and tell the owner that I couldn't do something that was pretty simple with the dog. So I had just kind of taken a moment, a pause. It was just the dog and I in the room, and I had taken a moment to sort of collect myself. And I took a couple steps back from the dog and just kind of stopped paying attention to them and just took a deep breath in and out. And when I exhaled, the dog laid down. And that was the oddest thing to me that could have happened, and I really didn't believe it at first, and I couldn't figure out why this dog, instead of responding to all the things that I had learned and taught that this dog would respond to, that they would respond to laying down based on my exhale. And I really couldn't believe it, so I tried it a few more times, and the dog responded that way each time. And then I thanked the dog for his time. The session was done, and I left. And it was it's I hadn't imagined that something like that would happen. You know, like I didn't believe that something like that would have happened. So the fact that it happened in front of me a couple of times really forced me to open up my mind to what dogs really might be capable of and how they really might be communicating. And you know, in addition to learning how to help people and train dogs and all of that, I've also been really on a quest to learn like why a dog would respond to what's happening inside of us instead of all of these things we're trying to tell a dog to do. And it's been an awesome journey.
Right. So now this is kind of a journey that you pride yourself, and I think it's also part of your business model that you don't only just do the traditional type of therapy or behavioral therapy, but also tap into educating a little bit your clients on this other realm of the dog kind of resonating with our energy, right? Is that something like, so this was the beginning of this path, and where has it taken you, and how do you educate your clients on this? I mean, how do we start in this journey?
Energy is such a important but uh, not really understood kind of subject, and being a dog trainer is a strange place to be to to want to talk to people about their energy. But I'm not the only dog trainer talking about such a thing. I think there are a lot of great dog trainers that tell people that their energy matters to their dog. And I think, and I meet a lot of clients that say, yeah, I know my dog can read my energy, and if I'm stressed, they're going to be stressed. So I think there's a lot of acceptance that it's real, but not a lot of understanding of what it is and how it works, or even really where it comes from. My take is that we all really want to project something. We want people or animals to interpret us in a certain way. But even that is kind of losing the forest in the trees, because it's not really about what you, if you start by what you put out, then you've kind of missed the boat. If you start by what's inside of you, that's what you can naturally project. But you know, if you call a dog trainer for help, that can be a big topic. So most of the time when I help people with their energy, it's not really through discussions about their energy. It's through their action. get people moving so they can see it and feel it themselves without having to start off with that discussion, because that can kind of throw some people off. As far as the specifics about our self-regulation affecting a dog, it's something that I've taught people kind of on the fly. I've had people that have a nervous, anxious dog before them, and they can't get their dog to listen or stop or settle down or anything like that from their nervous or anxiousness or hyperactivity. And I'll say, try to take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And I've had some people be like, whoa, and it have an immediate effect on their dog. So being able to put it into practice and see that it's not just me, which I never thought it would be, but being able to see it in practice for other people has been really affirming. And people working with people and helping them through their dog's issues, and people coming back to me afterwards and saying, hey, Mike, that stuff you kind of taught me about how to work with my dog, I've put into practice in these other relationships, even these human relationships at home or at work or wherever. And, thank you. And that really helped. That stuff I never anticipated and never figured, didn't feel qualified to even be doing. But I think it speaks to the natural way to communicate with ourselves and with others, and the power and the value of learning what that's all about.
Absolutely. And I think like as humanity, we're more open to have these discussions now. I think that we're learning that, that we do carry an energetic blueprint in the world, and that it radiates out by what we attract. Thankfully, there is such a movement of having these discussions. And like you said, I mean, dogs are so intuitive in their nature, and we have this intuitive ability in our own nature as well that we can activate through these conversations, or have awareness to recognize, okay, like what's outside of me is a projection of what's actually internally happening inside. And I think being that there's over almost 50% of Americans have a dog at home, I think it's like a nice place to begin self-reflection and just being able to be, like honest with ourselves and in a compassionate way. You know what I mean? Because I think we are cohabitating, and there is this field around us that we're all kind of like tapping into, whether consciously or unconsciously. But the fact that, so many of us love our dogs, we do feel this emotional connection without the communication. I think it's a nice entryway to like talk about this type of work, energy work, in addition to obviously like what you're doing in educating your clients to just be a little bit more open to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And how has the other community or the dog trainers, like, is this something that is talked about in your industry? Or, I mean, you
Yeah.
said some famous ones, but overall?
Yes, there's a lot of great dog trainers talking about energy, probably because they see it themselves when they're working with dogs, and they see when they go into a situation where they're meeting people and their dogs for the first time, they probably know that something's off. And it's not just about obedience, it's not just training a dog to do something, but like the social dynamic is evident. And it's not about what we're saying necessarily, but it's about how we're feeling, and our dog is interpreting that. I think that there are some really interesting possibilities about how dogs have even evolved with us, and I think dogs are in a super unique place in the animal world, because they starting as wolves but becoming dogs as they grew with us. Like, the relationship with the human is what made a wolf into a dog. And there are some kind of like generally agreed upon ways about when and where and kind of how that happened. Basically, wolves starting to collect scraps from human encampments or something like that. You'd think it's just because they were foraging food naturally. It would make sense if there's a food source, then you're going to have animals kind of gravitating towards it. But I wonder at what point those animals started to have the ability to measure and weigh and judge people and what's happening inside of them. Because at some point, dogs had to hitch themselves to our wagon. At this point, they're domesticated and their survival depends on us. So is it just putting food on the table that matters to a dog? Is it just petting them on the head that makes them gravitate to us and want to stick around us? I don't know. I think a lot of what we've done with dogs has been made for us, right? We want to say words and have dogs respond. We want nice dogs that are not liabilities and are pleasant to be with. And so a lot of dog training and what people want in a dog, I think, is built from the human standpoint. And I think we're only just now starting to look at what the potential and the capabilities of dogs. And what I specifically am really interested in, based on just the things that I've encountered, is why and how, what reason a dog would have, what evolutionary reason a dog would have to be able to read us in a way that nothing or no one else can, you know?
Right, right. And I wonder if, I mean, have there been studies on just kind of like the frequency of dogs like there, because there's a lot of neuroscience for us as humans that prove that meditation calms us, that we can tap into the field a little more clearly, or there's measurements of the heart resonance. So it's the beautiful topic to it. Is there any study about that? Like kind of like the cross relation of the two?
As far as I know, I've gotten more into like brain science of dogs probably in the last year, year and a half. Um, and as far as I know, there's nothing that exists that measures connectivity, energy connectivity between a human and a dog. I think it's only been in the past couple of years that we've even been able to have the technology and the funding probably to see what's going on inside of a dog's brain
Mm-hmm,
based on how a dog responds to arousal, how a dog responds to happiness, how a dog responds to aversiveness. I think that is all fairly new, and I don't know of anything that what I'd really love to see is like real time activity, brain activity between a human and a dog when they're doing all different sorts of interactions. That would be super interesting.
That would be beautiful. Let's put it out there in the universe, see if there's any scientists out there that's willing to measure that. Because as you say, I mean, they've been with humanity through so many, hundreds of years, and it's been like the woman or man's best friend, let's just say. But the energy that we receive from this companionship, the energy that the calming energy that we also get, that is just kind of an unspoken communication that nobody can deny, right? And I think,
Right. I think like things like petting a dog and getting endorphins from petting a dog, I think I'm sure that's been measured and shown. And some people don't even need a scientific study for that. We all know we feel good when we're around our dogs and we pet dogs. That's why we have therapy dogs, dogs going into hospitals and retirement homes, dogs being used for people's mental health and well-being is really picking up steam, and we all kind of see the inherent value in that. So that's obvious, I think, to a lot of people.
absolutely. And so, for somebody that comes to you, or for the people listening, just this conversation strikes a chord and says, okay, like I'm going to reflect a little bit. I'm going to be more conscious of my interaction with my dog. What are some action steps that people can take, or like what is the protocol for you with your clients?
That's a great question. Every client, every dog is a little bit different. Of course, my clients ultimately are the judge of me, so I have to frame things in a way that they understand and want to go along with. So my approach can really vary depending on where they're starting and where they want to get to be. But there is something that's really simple that everybody could help themselves to do and help their dogs to do. And I think that this can help. This will help people even if they don't own a dog. If you look at two different aspects of how we spend our day, and you can overlay this with what a dog is going to do. You're going to have drive, physical determination. For dogs, it's kind of simple. Even though they've been domesticated and we just put their food in the bowl and put it on the ground, you can better serve your dog, for example, by getting them to move around for their food. If you believe that a dog isn't going to be happy just because you put food in a bowl for them, but would be happier if you took that food and say threw it around in the grass for them to go sniff and find, right? Them having to work for their food, there's a lot of brain activity and healthy learning that happens when a dog has to go through that little bit of challenge to get what they want. So if you think about working energy, the energy that a dog wakes up with and wants to apply themselves to get the things that they want, that can really be summed up in the activity that you should be doing with them. This is something that you should do together with your dog. When you lead that hunt, so to speak, you're spending quality time with one another and you'll be doing dog training. But I think your dog will also look at you in a certain way to earn their respect and their attentiveness towards you and their preference towards you for sure. So you get up and you do an activity for 10 minutes or 20 minutes or 2 hours or whatever you have the time to do. And then after the work is done, you can practice the coming down, right? So it can be really hard to take a dog who isn't being genetically fulfilled, isn't being activated, and just get them to calm down. That leads a lot of people down a path of meds, basically.
Mm.
But if you can work with your dog and then slow down and relax with your dog, really calmly and simply and patiently relax with your dog and share those moments with them as well. I think that you have a really well-rounded interaction where you're taking your dog through their emotions and their expressions, working drive, followed by fulfillment, followed by relaxation and contentment, is a really natural cycle for a dog and really powerful. And the more I do it with dogs, the more I see that same benefit with me. And it makes a lot of things stand out in our lives about how we might stray from that and the problems that might arise. But we're only human, we're not perfect. one
Yeah, but I
one
like that. I mean, I was kind of seeing like this routine actually that is healthy for us as well, to wake up, do some movement, or, kind of like it's kind of like you say here, be a human your dog chooses to follow, like kind
Yeah.
of lead by example. And these are all positive kind of habits to have for ourselves, like kind of go through the process and take them for the journey where they're also kind of on your wavelength, I guess.
Yes, yes. I think when you can act with your dog in that natural way, then a lot of what we might think about in typical dog training, how many commands they know and how quickly they might listen, becomes less important, secondary, to the natural connection that you can have with that animal. And if you're doing that, then a lot of other things can fall into place and not give you such a headache.
Okay, and so you do see that from your clients that when I mean, I wouldn't call it inner work, but more mindfulness. Like, do they kind of come back and say, okay, I'm more mindful about my own inner energy? You said some notice, some not, but is that also, that's part of your philosophy as well, to kind of guide them to do, in your own manner, of course, depending on the client, but just to kind of have this self-reflection to have a more harmonious experience with their dog, right? That's part of your philosophy?
Yes, Harmony Canine is all about the human and dog team and their capabilities together. So if somebody says, "Hey, can you train my dog or teach my dog how to listen?" That's something that we'd have to have a conversation about because it's always the when you add the human back into the mix, that my client, their owner, then everything can change. And so if the human's not involved from the beginning and all the way throughout, then I'm doing them a disservice. So, um, really, it came about from people asking me, well, how can I help my dog? Why does my dog do this? How can I get my dog to do this better? And the more and more I thought about it and the more I worked on it, my answer started to be, well, you have to be doing this. So getting people to go through that and experience it themselves, I think everybody maybe learns that and feels it a little bit differently. Some people come right back and tell me some amazing things. Some people are just happy that their dog is doing better, and some people probably experience things that they don't really mention to me. But I think when you put it, but if all most people get is a better relationship with their dog and the joy and happiness that comes along with that, then that's plenty. You know what I mean? And if people are more enlightened thereafter, then I think that's really cool too.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. And then going into my branch of expertise and just with energy work, I love this also as a conversation to have with clients just in general, like how's the relationship with your dog or how's the relationship, you know what I mean? Because it is that I think it's a good entryway to just point out what energy work is. It's like that you cannot see it, but you can feel it. And I think starting off with your best friend is a great way to kind of tap into this world and understanding that, you know, we have this resonance, our dogs can feel it. If you believe that, then I mean, you can be open to believing in other fields or modalities of kind of balancing our inner world a little bit so that it is reflected in the outer world. So I think, yeah.
I think that's a special gift that dogs can give to us. If you would have come to me 10, 12 years ago talking about energy, I think a lot of people can believe it or disregard it as just this thing that's inside of them. And maybe they see some benefit and maybe they see it in action, or maybe they do and they don't want to believe it or anything like that. But what a dog can do for us is show some immediate and tangible benefits to or immediate and tangible reflection to what's happening inside of you. And when I think when you put that right in front of people and they see it for themselves, it's a lot harder to deny. And there's not a lot of things when it comes to like self-reflection and energy and mental health and making changes. There's not a lot of things that happen really quick, right
Mhm.
away. A lot of that can take a lot of time. But when you see it happen in real time with a dog, the difference from 1 hour to the next based on how you conduct yourself around them, then I think it's hard to argue with the benefit, and that can make it a lot more real for a lot more people.
Oh, I love that. Absolutely. And do you have, I mean, you were saying you've done like breath work and stuff like this. I mean, you're kind of also ventured into these modalities. Is that something that like, that's for you important working with dogs? Probably,
Yeah,
right? You need to be zen.
yeah, right. I mean, I think that I realized early on that patience was important. And a lot of times, how people got in their own way was like saying too many words too quickly and moving around in ways that were kind of erratic and how it would affect their dog. So, in an outward sense, I knew that patience and calmness could really help around animals. But personally, I think based on just going through life in the way that a lot of us do, I had to figure out, not even just for my work, although it's become a big part of it, how I cope with stress. And if I'm out here teaching everybody about being calm and being relaxed and dogs needing to calm down, do what is my capacity for that, you know? And so, yes, I at some point, I couldn't exactly tell you when, I started to put more effort into recognizing my breathing, seeing how it affected my body, seeing, well, basically, I could say that uh, wanting to learn how to make goodness that starts from here,
Mhm.
instead of taking things from here and putting them inside for goodness, wanting goodness that started from here to resonate outward, really wondering how that could happen, practicing it in earnest and seeing the benefit. Yes, it's something that's helped me greatly, and the fact that I think it helps me at work is all the more reason to do it and all the more helpful.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I love it. I definitely really love it because it really, I mean, it's amazing how you got to that point and like, you know, activating the heart within or and this work. And I mean, the reason for this podcast is to have these discussions because as we all know, we need to heal our society, but it begins with us and it begins with this internal work and it begins with having a little time to self-reflect and feel empowered by being able to change. I think sometimes, you know, outside world is so chaotic, we don't know what to do, but actually we can start with ourselves and it starts with the little steps, being more open and awake to be like, okay, well, my dog, okay, could be showing me something. Oh, now I'm open to this. Then the path starts to open up for us because God knows we all need a new earth and a new beginning. So yeah, this is such a great conversation to have, Mike. Thank you so much. I think this is a good starting point for a lot of people. And yeah, I'll definitely be putting all of your information. People in Connecticut, Mike is available, right? You're taking clients. I will put your link in.
Yeah, that's right. Really, Connecticut and even New England and beyond. I those are people that I help often, and also through my social media, I try to give out as much free and informative and engaging information as I can. So if you're super far away, then it's definitely worth checking out my Instagram.
Oh, that's so awesome. Okay, I'll definitely put it in there. So, thank you so much, Mike. I really appreciate your time. I hope that you enjoyed this.
Jessica, this was a great conversation. Really happy to be here today. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And without any judgment, take a look at your relationship with your dog and be okay with at least, I think, being honest with ourselves. I think that's where it all begins. So I hope you've enjoyed this and stay tuned for the next one. Have a beautiful day.
Thanks.